Thanks everyone for joining us today for this webinar on nature connection and mindfulness. I'm Andrea Salmon. I'll be facilitating today's webinar, and I've got Louise Cadell waiting in the wings. We start all our programs with an acknowledgement of country, and in the spirit of reconciliation, MS Limited acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and acknowledge their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and we extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders with us today. I'm currently on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation down in Victoria, and Louise is up in Sydney. So it is my great pleasure to introduce you to Louise Cadell today. We've been working on this program for quite a while since I made the suggestion that perhaps we could do a webinar. We've been exploring how to make that work best. So Louise works at Centennial Parklands in Sydney, in New South Wales, and she's a certified nature and forest therapy guide, a yoga and meditation teacher. She's also an art therapist, counsellor and nature play educator. Her work is all about connecting and reconnecting people to wild places and their own true wild nature. At Centennial Parklands, Louise teaches a range of nature play programs for young children and families, as well as nature connection, wellbeing and mindfulness programs for adults. So it is our great pleasure to have her with us today.
Thanks very much, Andrea. And hi, everyone. Andrea gave me a wonderful introduction there, and I'm here at Centennial Parklands, and I'm very used to teaching our programs outdoors and seeing all your faces. So this is very new to me. So just bear with me if I stumble for a moment because I can't see your faces and have that interaction with you. So yeah, as Andrea mentioned, here at Centennial Parklands, we have a whole range of education and community programs for kids and families and adults that are all about connecting people to nature, playing in nature, and also being in nature for our own health and well-being. And here we run a monthly forest bathing program, which I'm going to explain a little bit more about what forest bathing is soon. But I'm basically going to, as best I can, as I say, I'm used to doing this outdoors, so this is very new to me. But I hope you guys have all brought a little bit of nature with you. So I think there was some pre-work to collect some leaves or rocks or sticks or some items from nature. So I hope you've got that with you, because I'm going to be sharing a little bit of our forest bathing program with bringing that nature indoors. And normally when I start one of our programs, I love to hear a little bit about who's here and who's sharing this space and time together. And we're going to be doing a little bit of sharing today too, as we move through some of the invitations. So I think Andrea's got a couple of poll questions that I'd love you to answer if you're able.
This first one is, where are you joining in from today? So the options there are to hover with your mouse over whether you're in the ACT, in New South Wales, in Tassie, in Victoria, or if you're somewhere else. And if you're somewhere else, please pop it in the comment questions section, because we'd love to know where you're dialing in from. So everyone's voted. I'll close on that and I'll show you that 50% of people online today are in Victoria, 38% are in New South Wales, and there must be one person who's somewhere else exciting, and I'd love to know where that is. So please let us know.
Oh, great to know. Excellent. So I'm also in New South Wales. All right.
Let's go over. So Anne is in Queensland. That's fabulous. Thanks, Anne, for joining us from Queensland. So we also,
that's cool.
Yeah, we're also interested to know where you experience your greatest connection with nature. So that's what this next poll is. Where do you experience your greatest connection to nature? Are you a bush person? So it's the bush. Or are you a beach person? So for you, it's the beach. Or maybe it's wherever there's water, not necessarily the beach, but water. Or maybe it's your garden. Or maybe it's if you're up on a mountain. Now, we've only given you the option here of choosing one. So if you actually love lots of places, you've got to just bite the bullet and choose your favourite, where you experience your greatest connection with nature. If there's someone else who'd like to vote on that, that would be great. A couple more people to vote on this one. Where do you feel your greatest connection to nature? That's great. I'll share the results. So the majority of people have said the bush. So that's interesting. 63% telling us the bush is where they experience their greatest connection to nature, 25% the beach, and 13% high on a mountain. That's lovely.
Perfect. Good to know. For me, I'm a mountain person, I have to say. My very special place is quite specific. It's at Kosciuszko. I've been going to visit that place every year of my life since I was young, and it's become very, very special to me. So yeah, it's a nice thing to do, and part of what we'll talk about today is making regular visits to a place in nature that's really important to you, and that can become part of a lifelong health and well-being and connection to nature practice that can be really beneficial for us. And it's part of what we, I guess, bring into our programs here at Centennial Park. We have kids coming to our bush school week after week, year after year, and we develop these wonderful connections with them and their families, and to see them connecting to the park and all the special places that they have inside the park is one of the huge highlights and rewards of my job, because I get to see the impact that those repeated visits to those special places in nature can have on these young kids. So it's a good one to think about. Where's special for you? Yeah.
That's wonderful. And we're also interested to find out if you've experienced nature mindfulness previously. So that's what this next poll is. Have you experienced nature mindfulness before today? So your answer might be no, this is my first experience, or no, but I regularly practice mindfulness, or maybe not nature mindfulness, but you love nature, or maybe yes, you've done other programs of nature mindfulness, or yes, you practice regularly. So we'd love to find that out, because that's like, you know, if we were in the room together, we'd be doing a show of hands, or if we were with Louise at the Parklands, we'd be doing a bit of a chit chat. So share with us if this is your first experience or if you've got other experience in the past. So it's across the board, Louise. Look at the results for this one. So 33% are saying no, first experience, and another 33% who no experience of nature mindfulness but have regularly practiced mindfulness, and then 11% across the board of love nature, have done other programs, and 11% who regularly practice. So that's fabulous.
Perfect. I'd be really interested to know, for those of you guys who regularly practice, or what other nature connection or nature mindfulness programs you've done, because I think this is an area that's coming into attention now, and which I want to go back to this word forest bathing that I was talking about before, and I noticed we're talking about nature mindfulness here, but yeah, I just wanted to share that in the 1980s in Japan, they started to really recognize and pay attention to the connection between nature and well-being, and they found that when people went on healing forest walks in healing forest trails, and they actually created this, they set aside land in their national parks and their forests, and they created a whole network of healing forest trails with guides to take people walking in a mindful way with the specific intention of healing, because in the 1980s in Japan, they were going through a huge crisis with lots of people getting really, really stressed from overwork and actually getting really ill. And so what they started to do was take medical measurements of people's blood pressure and heart rate and stress hormones, and they measured their immune system as well, their natural killer cells, which are the white blood cells that fight infectious diseases and tumours and things. They did a whole range of physiological and immunological tests, and over many years they collected all this data to show that actually nature really positively benefits our physiology, our stress physiology in particular, and our immune systems. It really upregulates, boosts our immune systems. So they were able to show that being in nature in a mindful way can help to prevent and decrease injuries and illnesses specifically related to stress. And yeah, it was all sorts of interesting research to come out. They showed that when people are breathing in the smells from the pine forest, that it really helped to heighten their immune responses to fight infectious diseases and things like that. So as a result of all the work that's been done in Japan over the last 30 years, we now have this situation where nature and forest therapy guides are being trained to share this practice of forest bathing all over the world. And so that's what I did, because I was really interested in these concepts. I really believe that nature can help us to heal. And so now there's guides leading this forest bathing practice all over the world, which is essentially, it has nothing to do with taking a bath or a shower, taking your clothes off in any way. That's what I commonly get asked, but no, don't worry, we'll all keep our clothes on. It's really just about soaking in all the smells, sounds, sights, textures of nature in a mindful way, and how healing that can be. And I think it's something we probably all intuitively know, but certainly the Japanese helped to bring it into modern scientific literature, if you like. But certainly, I always like to say that connecting with nature is not a Japanese practice or something that they invented. Indigenous people from all around the world have always had a very special spiritual connection with nature. And if you speak to, and this sounds like a big generalization, but if you do speak to Indigenous people, they'll talk about their notion of deep listening, deeply connecting with country. And so whenever I guide these programs, I also just like to remind people that, hey, this is, and we're all Indigenous to somewhere. So, you know, this is something that people from all around the world have been doing for tens of thousands of years, finding deep listening, deep connection for their own physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And also, you know, recognizing that nature is giving so much to us, but it's also a nice reminder of what we can do for nature. So I always like to also encourage a sense of, you know, custodianship when we're out moving mindfully in nature, deeply listening, deeply connecting. It's also a nice time to think, okay, how can I take care of this place? What can I give back in my daily life? And so yeah, thanks Andrea, you did a lovely acknowledgement of country before, and I also just like to start our programs by acknowledging that here in Centennial Park I'm on Gadigal and Bidjigal country, and yeah, I just always like to remind myself and everyone who's in the group that, you know, this was a very special place for Indigenous people. And I hope that when we come here to use this place, and that the same goes for whenever you're out in nature, that we'll remember those ways of custodianship and caretaking that they had, because nature also gives so much back to us. Okay, so that was a lot of talking. So I hope we have a better sort of sense of what forest bathing or nature mindfulness is all about. And now we're going to get started. So I've got two, we call them invitations. So these are offerings to try out. And there's nothing that I say that you have to do. So please just take everything as just an invitation to be curious about what you feel and what you notice. And so the first invitation that I have to share today is a guided meditation. And yes, you can see there a lovely picture of someone enjoying our forest bathing program here in the pine forest at Centennial Park. So just like this person, feel free to make yourself comfortable. I'm going to guide you through a sensory meditation where we start to pay attention to all the different sights and sounds and things that we're feeling with our body. And so for this, it would be great if you can have your natural items that you've collected. Hopefully you've got some of those with you. Maybe have them out on the table or chair in front of you because we might use them. And if you don't have anything with you, maybe you can just sit yourself so you're looking out a window, or just in any way, if you can see or be near nature, that would be great. But if you can't, that's okay as well. All right, so wherever you are, again, it's tricky because I can't see you guys, but I'm going to trust that everyone's got themselves into a nice comfortable position and you've got some nature around you, whether it's out the window or in front of you that you can touch. And so I'll now start to guide you through a meditation, which will be about 5 or 10 minutes long. Okay, so just find yourself a nice comfortable seat, or maybe you want to stand up or lie down. And you might like to close your eyes, or you might like to leave your eyes open if you've got a nice view outside the window. And just start to notice how you're feeling in your body. And notice the connection between your feet and the ground underneath you. Maybe you're sitting on a chair and notice your sit bones being supported by the chair. And notice if you're holding any tension in your face or jaw or shoulders. And just start to notice your breath and how it moves in and out of your body. And if you are holding any tension anywhere in the body that you notice, see if as you exhale, you can just release and let go and soften down into the support of the chair and the floor beneath you. And just take a few breaths, noticing the flow and movement of the air into and out of your body. Softening your jaw, softening your face. And then really starting to pay attention to the connection between your sit bones and the floor, or your feet on the floor. And start to imagine the connection between you and the earth beneath you. And you can do this by even imagining that you're growing like tree roots down through the soles of your feet so that they stretch down into the earth underneath you, under the building that you're in. And imagine that you're growing your roots deep down into the ground. And as you travel down, as those roots go down through the layers of the earth, just notice what the soil is like down there. Notice if it's wet or dry. Notice if there's bugs or worms or any other creatures in the ground. Maybe you pass some other tree roots. And as your tree roots grow down, just notice yourself feeling really anchored, really grounded into the earth beneath you. And then imagine that up through those roots, you draw up the water and the energy and all the nutrients that you need. And imagine those things coming up into your body through your roots, feeling yourself becoming energized and nourished by this connection to the earth. And now bring your awareness to your sense of touch. So it might be that you pick up some of the natural items that you've brought in. Maybe you have rocks or leaves or bark or sticks. And if you have any of those, just pick them up and start to feel and notice the different textures. If you don't have natural items with you, just notice any sensations that you feel on your skin. So noticing the temperature of the air, the temperature of the clothing on your skin, noticing areas that feel warm or cool. And again, if you have natural items with you, just noticing if they feel hard or soft or crunchy or spiky. What are the textures? And you might like to notice if you have a favorite texture. And also just coming back to the sensations that you feel on your skin. Just noticing if any sensations feel nice and comfortable, pleasurable, if there's anything that's itchy or spiky. Maybe there's a breeze on your face or sunlight on your skin coming in from outside. And next, we're going to move our awareness to our sense of hearing and sound. So see if you can notice where the direction of north is. Some of you might know that instinctively, or it might be a guess. That's okay. Just decide where you think north is. Tune into that direction. And can you notice any sounds in the direction of north? You might hear natural sounds of the breeze in the trees, or man-made sounds, construction noise, or it might be quiet. Next, move around 90 degrees to the direction of east, the direction where the sun rises. And see if you can hear the quietest sound in the east. Moving around again 90 degrees to the south. What's the quietest sound you can hear in the south? Maybe you hear a bird song. Maybe you hear cars. And finally, traveling around to the west, listening out for the quietest sound in the west. And what's the closest sound that you can hear to you right now? Can you increase the sound of your own breath and add your sound to this landscape? Next, we'll move to our sense of smell. Just tuning in for a moment and noticing if there are any smells in the air. And again, maybe if you've brought some leaves or natural items, you could pick those up, maybe crunching up some leaves. Maybe there's some dirt on some of the leaves or some water. Just immersing yourself in the smells of the natural world or the smells of the place where you are. Maybe again, there's a breeze coming in. And if you're feeling a little bit playful, you could also poke your tongue out and see if you can taste the air, or can you catch any tastes of the place where you are? If you had an edible plant with you, you could have a little nibble of a basil leaf or something like that. In any case, just tuning your awareness to your sense of taste. And then finally, if it's possible for you to stand up, this next invitation is to tune to your body radar, which is basically just if you close your eyes, tune into the direction that your body feels like facing. And you can do this by rotating. If you can't stand up, you might just move your head in different directions and just see if you can drop in and feel, without thinking, just what direction you intuitively like to face. Does your body like to face a certain way? Just see if you can notice what that direction is. And maybe if it's possible, face yourself in that direction. And then again, we're going to go on a little walk in our imaginations out in that direction. So when you find the direction your body likes to face, with your eyes closed and your body still, imagine you are walking out onto the landscape in that direction. And just notice what you find as you walk. Maybe you're walking along a path. Maybe you're in the mountains. Maybe you're in a city streetscape. Just notice whoever or whatever's there as you walk out onto the landscape in your favorite direction. There might be animals, or rivers or lakes. And then when you're ready, we're going to stop our little walk here and just come back to the place where you are now. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to really gently and slowly open your eyes and come back to the room here. But as you do so, I'd just like you to imagine that whatever you're seeing it for the first time. And also, if it's a natural thing that you're seeing as you open your eyes, that it is seeing you back. So when you feel ready, start to really gently and gradually open your eyes. And just notice what you see. And if it's a natural thing that you're looking at, notice how it feels if you can imagine that it is also seeing you. And we're just going to open up a little bit to any sharing. So what I always ask people here when we're out in the forest is just to see what you're noticing. Notice how you feel now compared to before that meditation. Or maybe there's something you might like to share about something specific happened. You had a great image or sensation. Maybe a memory came up for you. Often people share that their bodies seem to turn in the direction of home if they're from overseas. Or so if anyone would like to, I'd like to invite you now to share anything that you're noticing.
So for those people who joined us after we'd started, this is using the question area in the control panel of the webinar system. So opening up the control panel, which is ordinarily on the right-hand side of your screen, and finding the question area and just typing in your comment in there. That would be lovely for you to share that with us. Louise, earlier, Anthea was saying she would have chosen all those places if she could have, to feel connected to nature.
Yeah.
And Daphne made variety. Yeah, absolutely. And Daphne made the comment that she's done lots of meditation programs and is lucky enough to live 200 metres from a national park. So she meditates listening to the birds.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, it's really lovely to hear what people share, and it's a big part of this forest bathing program that we do in the park, and sometimes it can feel a little bit you know, vulnerable to share, but yeah, it's really lovely to hear. And often when someone shares, then other people also feel a resonance with what they shared. So
yeah, Megan has said she was.
Sorry.
Megan was saying, has written in that she was looking out the window, looking at the trees, and was really concentrating on their movement, which is beautiful. And Gillian said she felt great and actually heard a family of kookaburras just as you were. Yeah.
Lovely.
That's lovely.
Great. So it sounds like people are able to be near nature or to see it from where they are, which is great.
It's great. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. What I often notice after a meditation is just how nice it feels to slow down for a moment. And even just looking at that slide that you have up of the pine forest, just yeah, enjoying the very simple things like the textures of the bark, the textures of the leaves, and just giving myself a moment to enjoy that and let it soak in, and how, yeah, powerful that can be. It really helps me to reset from my work, being at the computer, or when I'm inside and behind the screen. Okay, so if there is no more sharing, we might go on to our next activity or invitation. Shall we do that?
Let's do that.
All right. And I think there just might be a couple more images, Andrea, of the forest bathing from here in the park, or it's possible to scroll through those. And yeah. Okay, so yeah, beautiful. So there's some people just soaking in the environment here. Okay, so our next invitation, which yeah, we often do out in this pine forest, is to make a collage or a sculpture with the natural items that we collect. So this is why we invited you guys to bring some things in from the outdoors, and this is something you can do anytime that you like. I must say I have a bit of a practice of wandering out in nature and collecting things and bringing them back into my home. So I have rock collections and pine cone collections and things. So I hope if anyone's got those things with them now, what we invite you to do is to start to make your own little artwork, however that feels good for you. You might have a piece of paper, you might want to glue some things down or add some drawing, or you might want to make some sort of a sculpture or like a mandala that's showing up on the screen at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll give you just 5 minutes to just take your time to make your own little eco art. We call this ephemeral art when we're outside. And this is just a sculpture that we make that stays out there in nature. You of course might stick yours down or put it on a piece of paper and make it an artwork. But yeah, either way, just take a few minutes and make some sort of artwork, eco art.
That's a lovely invitation, Louise. And while we do that, we're going to play a little video. So I'm just going to click a button here so that we can show you just a nature video to just put you in the mood.
looks like we're back.
We're back. That was lovely. What a lovely time.
That was really nice. So yeah, thanks Andrea for that. Did everybody get the chance to make some sort of expression with their nature? We thought we might just show a couple of images of some of the sorts of creations that get made here in the park, and also invite you guys to share again how that was for you, whether you've ever done anything like that, making some eco art, whether it was tricky or whether you do it all the time. I'd love to hear again from you guys how you went, or whether eco art is something that you've encountered before as a practice.
I'll add a couple of comments following on from the previous guided meditation, Louise. Gillian said she felt the orchid leaves, flowers and the bud as well as the roots, and it was all great. And Joanne commented that it was amazing. It was amazing doing the meditation and realizing how much she actually walks outside to breathe and slow down. The trees, the flowers, the stars, the clouds.
Yeah, beautiful. I think it's something we all know and feel intuitively, that our bodies, when we're outside and when we're not on our phones or talking to someone else or being distracted in other ways, because often when we go outside, we're still connected to a device or talking to someone or with a group of people or out with the intention of going on a walk for exercise, but we don't often go outside and just let go of all of that and just practice being in nature, which is that deep listening that I was referring to before. So the idea with this forest bathing is to just invite that way of being in nature rather than being outside for another specific purpose, to exercise or to socialize or something. So yeah, that's lovely that some people already have those kinds of practices.
And Gillian has added she annually collects autumn leaves and arranges them into a wonderful wooden bowl. All the different reds and browns look so great. It's her homage to autumn. That's lovely.
Oh, great. Yeah, it's lovely to have seasonal nature craft and honouring those shifts in the seasons as well. That's another way we can connect to nature, is to tune into what's going on in the seasons and have a little ceremony or ritual around it. Beautiful.
Lovely.
Did anyone make any comments on the eco art?
No, not as yet. We'd love to hear though. Let us know what you did with the things that you'd collected. And I'll even say, if you're really keen, take a photo and send it to education@ms, and I'll forward it on to Louise. She can see the images as well. But we'll have to do that.
That
the photos
would be
have to
great.
do afterwards.
Yeah.
But let us know what you did.
Perfect. Yeah. So keep sending in those images or sending in your comments. I'm just aware of the time that we're going a little bit over. So
that's okay.
Is that okay, or should we move on to the last part? Yeah, I just don't want to hold anyone up if anyone has to go. But yeah, so by all means, keep sharing about your eco art. But I might just move on to our next invitation, which is actually a take-home invitation, or something that you might like to try or make a commitment to try, which is a sit-spot practice. And I think you might have been sent this in a handout earlier today. But basically, it's a sit-spot practice is something that's very simple and can be very powerful. And it's essentially choosing a spot that you're drawn to. And the way you choose this is to tune into that body radar sense that we went through in the meditation. So instead of thinking with your mind, oh, that's where I want to go, see if you can let your body feel into where it would like to be. Choose your spot that way, and a good way to choose it is by wandering around in nature. But if you don't have access easily to outside, you can also just sit on your balcony, sit near a window, and just make yourself a little bit of time, just 5 or 10 minutes even, to just sit with that intention of really doing nothing. So not being distracted by devices or to-do lists or anything like that, but just sitting and starting to notice what's around you. And I think in the handout I said you could use your owl eyes, your kangaroo ears, your dingo nose, or your fox walk. These are some of the things that we share with the kids, but I even find them really fun to play with. So when you're wandering or sitting, just expanding what you're taking in by really tuning in to each of your senses. And then just staying in that sit spot and noticing what happens. You might want to bring a journal along with you or journal later, because as you start to visit that sit spot regularly, strange things start to happen. For example, you might notice that you see the same bird or family of birds each day, or you might notice that a particular bird, and this happens here at our bush school program, there's a particular heron who crosses through bush school at the same time every Friday. So you start to tune into these patterns that you see in nature, and you might actually start to develop deeper relationships than you might know possible or expect with the families of animals, or even with trees and rocks that are around there. So yeah, give it a go. I think we've got a poll question to see if anyone is interested in this idea of starting a sit spot. So we might head to that and see, is this something that sounds interesting? Can you think of a spot in your garden or somewhere nearby where you might like to start your own sit spot practice?
Absolutely, we do. So I'll launch that. This question is, do you feel that the sit spot is something that you will do after this program? And maybe you're going to answer, yes, I've got a spot in mind in my garden that's absolutely perfect. Or yes, I have a seat on my veranda that I'm going to use. Or maybe, yes, I have a seat where I can see outside. Maybe not go out, but can see outside. Or yes, I'd love to, but I'm just not sure where just yet. Or not sure, I'll think more about it. And you can answer that poll by hovering over the little circle and clicking with your mouse on that one to choose your preferred option in this little poll for what you're going to do after today in regard to the sit spot activity. So a couple more people to vote on that, and then I'll share the results with everyone. And I think, Louise, you'll be very pleased to see that the results that are coming in. Any last minute vote on that? Alrighty, that's cool. I'll close that off and I'll share the results, because it's a resounding yes. Everybody's going to is thinking that they'll do sit spot after this program in a variety of places. So that's wonderful. 18% have already got, sorry.
No.
I was just going to say 18 have already got a spot in mind. 36% have got a spot on their veranda that they'll use. 18% from inside but looking out, which is wonderful. And 27%, yes, they're committed to it, but they've just got to figure out where. That's great.
That is great. The sit spot is something that's so simple, but it's really powerful. And I've heard people who I really admire, who really live a very deeply nature-connected life, tell amazing stories of, you know, sitting outside in their garden and having a family of brush turkeys, or I forget, I was told a specific story and I forget the exact bird that it was, but someone told me that this family of birds used to walk past him in his sit spot every day, and they started getting closer and closer and closer and closer until one day they actually walked. I don't think it was a brush turkey because that would have been a bit alarming, but they actually walked straight over his feet. So that's how much you can become a part of the natural world around you when you're doing the sit spot, and animals will become curious as to who you are and what you're doing there. And my dad actually sits on his veranda every morning. He has a spot that he likes to sit, and he's not a nature connected person at all, but it's amazed me to see what a close and loving relationship he now has with a particular set of magpies and some noisy miners that he's called Fluffy, who come and visit him on his balcony. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, anyone can do it from anywhere.
Absolutely. Gillian's popped in a comment that when she sees a wonderful tree, she just has to touch it or even hug it and listen to it with her ear, and she's amazed at what you can hear inside the tree.
Yeah, beautiful. So lovely to touch the bark of trees and listen to them. I'm always amazed by that too, particularly with little saplings, so younger trees. I don't know why, but whenever I put my ear up against a small thin sapling, it amazes me the noise that comes out. It's like a seashell or something. There's a whole ocean going on in there.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Great. Okay. Well, if no one's got any other comments, I think we might wrap up. So I think, Andrea, I've sent through a couple of links to the Centennial Parklands website on our Learn page. We've got a whole lot of nature play activities that you might want to have a look at. They were designed with children and families in mind, I suppose, but there's no reason why us adults can't do nature play activities as well. So if you'd like to, feel free to visit there and have a browse. And you can see my face again as well, taking you on a virtual spotlight tour in the park. So that second link is to a nighttime tour that we do, where we walk around the park with a spotlight and we see what animals are living inside the park. And it might amaze you just how much life there is going on after dark, and maybe that's something you even want to try at home, or even by your window, again sitting on your veranda sometimes at nighttime, seeing who's out there animal wise. So
that's wonderful.
Keep in touch. Thanks so much everyone for being open to these invitations today. I know they might feel a little bit different to what we're used to and how we're used to being, but it's certainly something that we feel very passionate about here, is inviting these sort of new but very old ways of being, of deeply listening and connecting to nature. So
thank you, Louise.
I hope
Megan,
we've got something out today.
Absolutely. And feel free to pop in any more comments before we finish up. Megan has commented that she recently discovered grounding about a year ago, walking barefoot on the grass, and she finds that very powerful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Joanne has popped in a comment to thank you. That was lovely. And I add my thanks too. I know it's taken a little bit of getting your head around the concept of doing this when you're normally out in nature with a group of people. So I'm really thankful that you've been willing to accept the challenge that I put and to do this program with us. It's just been great. So I'm really pleased that everyone online has had the chance to go have the meditation time and to consider their connections to nature. And the same as you, I would encourage people to continue to explore it. So there's lots of thank yous coming in, which is beautiful. And I just encourage people to continue to keep connected with each other and with us and with nature. And thank you again, Louise, for your time today. We'll look forward to doing something together, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. It's been a really interesting and new challenge for me to
Great.
facilitate this inside. So it's been great. And, you know, certainly bringing nature inside can really help to change an environment. I certainly notice the difference when I bring in indoor plants and I have them in my house. It immediately changes the dynamic and the energy inside my house. So I really encourage you, if you don't already have rocks and sticks and leaves and indoor plants, to bring them into your space and see how that affects your energy inside your house.
That's great.
And
Thank you very much.
thanks for having me, Andrea. And yeah, I'm absolutely open to doing something similar again.
Terrific. Thank you. And thanks everyone for being online. Anne's just asked if there's a possibility to access the meditation at a later stage. We have recorded today's program, so I'll talk to Louise about how we might make that available, but we'll certainly look at doing that too, Anne. Okay, thanks everyone for being with us today. We'll look forward to seeing you at future programs. Goodbye for now.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, bye.